For me, I became a Christian when I was in secondary school, like you in Methodist secondary school as well. And then for the longest time, I have been a Methodist right until today. Right, I still consider myself one. That means it's about like 35 years journey or so already. But growing up in the 80s and 90s, I must say that the LGBT issue has not really been very, I guess, part of the conversation. I'm not sure whether that was your experience. It was not part
Absolutely.
of the experience. I grew up not knowing anything about this.
Yep.
Nobody talks about it, and it was just all happily going along, And then at some point, I guess all these prejudices, ideas start to come in, not necessarily via the doctrinal or religious side. It's actually via, I guess, peer pressure, mixing around, and then the names you call each other, and the other person may well not be an LGBT, but you still get labeled things like, or you gay, and all sorts of words that are tied to referring to LGBT people, and I get very fed up when I started to become at the end of that, of receiving that, because as someone who from young has loved to draw and write, and in the 90s I was already becoming very active in writing poetry, and also I love to do literature as a subject. I pursued it all the way as something that is very much my passion in not just doing but also learning. About what people are thinking, about how they're talking about cultural history, I guess. And then when you do this, you always get a certain community among Christians to say, hey, you gay, you're a creative person, you must be gay, And I feel like, hey, I'm not. Why do you keep saying that to me? That's one thing. And why do you use it as a bad word? And so I think today when we talk about LGBT, there's that lingering stigma, there's the lingering negative connotations that are still attached to that. And I wonder how much sometimes when we have the discussion about LGBT, it is that informing the attitude as well, and not just the overt discussions that we have. So anyway, that was very much part of something that was bothering me quite a bit in the 90s. And I think, in fact, the title of my first book of poems that came out in 1998 was Who Wants to Buy a Book of Poems? That, which is quite a funny poem that talks about people misunderstanding poetry, right? But that poem also, that poem is the title poem of the book itself that has the same name. It ends with the twist, right? That says that, people call me gay.
Right.
When I'm not, and it ends with that twist at the end, to just basically saying that there's just all this misunderstanding about writing and creativity. And I guess for me, that has been the angle, to realize that, I don't think a lot of Christians have a good sense of what it means to be an LGBT person or who an LGBT person is.